they did tons of research on rats, but not a lot on humans. So that should tell you something too. When you've got animal research but not human research, and the human research that you have is done by the company who has the most to gain from it, that's a little bit of a concern. Hi, welcome back this week to The Naked Doctor. I'm Dr. Tammy.
And I'm Chrissy.
We have a fun show today. Not so fun.
Is it fun?
It's
I don't know. The monkey is fun.
The monkey is fun.
That's probably going to be the funnest part of the show. Sorry.
The monkey is fun. Yeah, so I think the title of this could be Sweet and Spooky.
Sweet and spooky.
Not sweet and low, but sweet and
Not
spooky.
sweet and low, but sweet and scary. How it says that.
And the main thing that I want to do is just raise awareness. Nothing has to change today, but you know, you could go just nuts with our food supply. And the bottom line, I'm going to wrap this up with a big bow at the end, is that you can't avoid everything. And the research I've done for the show today, I've just like freaked out a little bit through the week. I'm just a little bit that way. But as you know, one of the biggest things that I do is I take lots of supplements, I drink lots of water, and I try to eat as healthy as possible. And, you know, just as an intuitive and, you know, just a vibration worker, that that you can't be worried about it because you, really create a vibration.
If you stress on every single bite that you take, then you're adding the chemicals of stress to every bite that you take. That's really what it comes down to. It could be, you could put the woo-woo on it and say, just because I'm thinking negatively, negative vibrations are going to move through, and if there is a likelihood of it going one way or another, it might influence a negative energy flow. You could say it that way, but really, if you are giving yourself stress hormones about every bite of food that goes into your mouth, then it just can't be working really in your favor, really.
You know, I kind of think maybe that's what prayer is too, because when you pray, you're changing your vibration and a gratitude kind of thing with the food that, you know, and prayer is different for lots of people.
It's all about those signals being sent and received, whether they're chemical or psychological, or the food that you're putting in your mouth. So today is about the sweeteners and the signals that they send us, right?
So I just want to say, I think everything happens for a reason. And as I'm getting ready for this show, because I'm a concierge doctor, and so I get this text, and the patient has shingles. And so he's been dealing with this for a week or so, and we've done the antivirals, and you know, we've done the steroids and the pain meds, and it's if you're not familiar with shingles, it's terribly painful.
It's very painful.
And he has it all over the right side of his body. His nerves are all inflamed, and he's just miserable, can't sleep. You know, we're doing the best we can, and he is getting better. But as I'm doing research for this show on the sweeteners, it pops into my head to ask him, because he's just lost a ton of weight. He's you know, been working with us. He's lost like, I think almost 50 pounds.
Fantastic.
He's doing wonderful. And I'm thinking, does he, you know, is he like cutting sugar? And could he be, because a lot of people think that and do that, replacing it with artificial sweeteners? And so I texted him back and I said, do you use any artificial sweeteners? And he said, yes. And he's using sucralose or sweet and low. And I said, stop right now. And he's like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that.
Right. Most of the time we don't. It's so prevalent. And we do think, from a devil's advocate standpoint, if I am weaning myself off of sugar, then this should be a reasonable, I feel like it's a little bit trading one sin for another a little bit. But my thought, I've done the same thing. My thought is, if I can just get myself to something lower calorie, I can worry about replacing the sweetener once I get to my goal weight. That was my thought.
I do have to apologize. I just said Sweet and Low, and it's Splenda.
Oh, yeah.
So
Splenda
I want to make sure that I don't misspeak.
Sweet and Low is saccharin.
And I had to do a lot of research for this show because I don't use any of this.
Most people don't really know what the generic terms are. They only know brand names.
Yeah. So
we'll educate you on that,
We'll educate you too. And I'm educating myself as we go through this too, because the research that I've done, I try to be very careful and use the research that is in Cochrane and that is actually, you know, peer-reviewed studies and stuff, not just what people are saying on the internet.
But up to date and accurate.
Up to date
That's
and
always
accurate.
nice.
So we're going to talk about a few of those things. Also, there is brand new, a big buzz about erythritol causing heart attacks.
Oh, no.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about that and scare you just a little bit there. So spooky or sweet.
All right.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I was so excited for Ryder to get home and try this flavor because I knew he would love it. The fruits and greens. It's strawberry and kiwi flavored. He throws it in a glass. He loves this little stir. It creates a tornado. It's all about the fun. Fruits, veggies, fun. Hello, let's do it. Fills it up to the tip top because that's satisfying, right? I knew as soon as he grabbed that straw he was going to love it, but I didn't think he'd have the whole glass down in under 3 minutes. His whole daily servings of fruits and veggies done.
Hi, welcome back to The Naked Doctor. I'm Dr. Tammy.
And I'm Chrissy.
And we have a sweet and spooky
Show for you
It's
today.
gonna be my new sweetener. Hey, I
Yes,
think
sweet
I'm
and
gonna
spooky.
get that going. So, what if a patient had a symptom or a diagnosis? Let's say it was migraines. And you know, I always say a headache is not an aspirin deficiency. And what if you found out there was something in your diet that you were doing that if you stopped that, the migraines would go away?
Oh gosh, suffering with migraines, I would definitely take action.
What if you had something like neuropathy? And if you've ever known anybody with neuropathy, it's like pins and needles in their feet. Extremely painful, almost crippling at times. Big Pharma has a lot of different treatments for that, but no cure. And what if you had weight gain and you didn't even know?
Unexplained weight gain. How many of us have experienced that in our lifetime? Or very difficult to lose weight.
Or heart disease. Or what if you thought the very things that you thought you were doing to be healthy were actually making you sicker? So in the news just this week, there's a lot about erythritol, which is a sugar alcohol. So what's a sugar alcohol? Basically, it's a chemical process in which they take real sugar, which is a real natural substance, and do all their things they do to it, you know, break it down in the beakers in the lab.
Move some molecules around, science magic, and why not?
Oh, it's very interesting that we said molecules too in just that sentence, because there are some of these sweeteners that at high temperatures break down into wonky molecules, and they're just not, they're even worse for you. So there are some that, you know, they're touted for baking, like the keto pies and stuff like that. And everything in moderation, right? Again, I'm not saying these are all evil, and, you know, some of the things that I say, though I did try to do a lot of good research here, could be not right. And I always reserve the right to say, I don't know. But this is the research that I did, and it is a little concerning, and it's always been concerning to me about any kind of additives, food additives, you know, sweeteners, just mindful of what the chemicals are that are in our food supply.
My thought is, when I was younger, I remember the research on some artificial sweeteners that were popular at the time, and someone even on the news or the Today Show saying, well, the amount that you would have to consume in order for this to cause a problem would be more than what one human would ever really have in a lifetime. But the other day, and we weren't even talking about this show yet, but I was refilling my container of sweetener packets. And I was thinking of that thought where he said how much you would have to consume. But then I thought of how many times I have refilled my container of sweetener packets, and visually that pile became really, really big. And I thought, oh, what if really some of that research from back in the late 80s wasn't really on point because they were trying to sell sweetener. And two, how much have I really reasonably consumed when I think of these are my packets, but what else is in the pre-packaged food that I'm eating as well? That's a big concern. And then this came up. I think I'm getting a message.
You know, it's very interesting, and I know you have to be very careful in this day and age speaking out against anything that could be questionable. But the process, I will just say the process in which the government bodies approve these things, I thought was very interesting. And this was on multiple, sites, and it wasn't just one thing that I read that aspartame was created out of, chemical warfare but there are multiple sites that corroborate this. So just the terrifying nature of these government bodies that approve these chemicals are regulated only by the companies that submit the data. So, talk about leaving the fox in the hen house.
Right.
The companies do the research and submit it. And then there's something called GRAS, G-R-A-S, which are generally thought of as safe. And so generally thought of as safe.
Regarded as safe. That's what that means. Like, man, okay, why not? Is that
But,
we'll see what happens?
Right?
Is that what that means?
Just the name aspartame sounds extremely
It does. It
terrifying
sounds a little
to
bit,
me.
yeah.
And so there was a guy who was actually studying aspartame in the lab, a scientist, for pesticides, which were also, those chemicals were coming from doing chemical warfare tests at the time. And the story goes, and multiple sites corroborate this, it's on Wikipedia, if you can believe Wikipedia, it's actually on Wikipedia. So anyway, the guy, it's not very safe to be working with harmful pesticides and chemicals in the lab. And then also, they were also studying it with Big Pharma because they were looking for an anti-ulcer medication. So
whatever works.
Whatever
it might
works.
kill bugs. It might cure your ulcer.
So he didn't wash his hands. He touches his hands, and it tastes really sweet. So they look at the molecule, and they compare it to a sugar molecule. It's literally thousands of times sweeter than a sugar molecule. And he's like, huh. And then that was born. And then the rest of the story plays out just absolutely terrifying about some of the corrupt things that rolled over and people that were, I don't want to say paid off, but there were studies, and you have to remember where studies come from, because even with Big Pharma, you have to look at who funds those. And they're supposed to say if there's a conflict of interest, but whose conflict is it? Is it the drug company making the study, or is it the people who are producing the chemical?
And so it becomes a custom study where I need you to say that this is okay.
Yeah.
And then the study comes out, okay.
And it
generally
happens.
regarded as safe.
Generally regarded as
Now,
safe.
I do want to say that I have a memory of when aspartame was first released. I was young, and there were a package of gumballs put in every newspaper that came to the house one particular Sunday. And it said, this is the new sweetener, you should try it. So let's think about that.
Let's appeal to
it was
kids.
Literally marketed like it was across the United States to kids, as this is going to be the new thing for you.
And if it's safe for kids, it has to be safe for everybody else,
safe
right?
for everybody else.
So the big buzz about erythritol is that they've done studies and they've shown that it increases platelets, which are the clotting part of your blood. And again, quantity does matter. They took a large cohort of people, and what they found was there were T helper cells, immune parts of your immunity in your immune cells, and also clotting agents. So that's kind of the big buzz right now. So I don't know, take it for what you want, but a lot of the news outlets are talking about it right now. So erythritol is a sugar alcohol. It is a chemical that is modified from sugar. So you could say it's sugar, not artificial, but when you modify things, we just really don't know what happens. I don't think we were supposed to eat out of the lab.
Probably not.
Hopefully not. Okay, they're saying it's time for a break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about some of these different sweeteners and why the monkey is on the table, our little mascot now. And we're going to go through a few different ones and tell you maybe which ones might be safer or might not be safer, or what alternatives that you might choose. So we'll be right back. So welcome back. We have a great show today. It is not so great. It's sweet and spooky.
Sweet and spooky.
Keep saying that. Boy, that could be a whole thing.
We could.
Yeah.
Little ghosts floating around. Little
Maybe
pink
they could
ones.
do that
Little pink
in a
and blue
post-edit.
ghosties. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
I was asking them for zombies the other day. I thought that'd be fun.
We ask for weird things on this
We do,
show.
yes.
Monkey in glasses.
Yeah. I don't know, like the sense of humor that runs around in my head, because sometimes I look at other people and I say things and I'm like, oh wow, did I just say that?
Did I just say that out loud? Well, yes, we did.
And then
sometimes
sometimes
we say it on camera. That's even better.
We do, and sometimes I say things and I think I said it, and then my son's like, Mom, you never said that. I'm like, I did. I just didn't
Or
say
like
it
the
out
text
loud.
that you never press sent. How often does that happen?
Oh, yeah, that's a thing.
Memory loss, is that
embarrassing.
one of the side effects of
Artificial
sweeteners? Whoops.
You know, that's a good point. And I started that in the show, and I kind of didn't wrap that up like I promised I would. But I have had patients with neuropathy and migraines who I've asked them to stop the artificial sweeteners because they just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And the problem with artificial sweeteners is that they change your taste buds. And I've even had people tell me that I can't even drink water anymore because those taste receptors only respond to that. And it is addictive. And it's interesting because, and I've got a little graphic I'm going to have the guys throw up, but there are PET scans that are done of the brain that the brain lights up just as much with sugar as it does cocaine.
Oh.
And-
Yes, the mice will hit the button and hit the
Yes.
button and hit the button just like,
Yes.
oh,
This is the
ouch.
human brain that they've studied and lit up
Yeah.
the brain. And that the artificial sweeteners actually light up more than the cocaine. Than the sugar.
Yes.
So we've got sugar more than cocaine, and then we got artificial sweeteners more than sugar.
And of course, artificial sweeteners have a higher price point per. You can get a big bag of sugar, not that sugar's better, but you can get a big bag of sugar for a relatively cheap price. But these cost more. So of course, if you already are making quite a bit of profit with these and someone finds that maybe they're not quite that healthy, that lab result's never going to make it to the light of day. They're making too much money to switch over.
I will point out too, for you guys who actually know your sweeteners, which again, I don't stay up on these because I don't use any of them unless it's accidentally in something that I don't know. But that's not true because it is in our fruits and greens. And so I'll talk about that in just a minute. But when I went shopping for the props for this show, I only bought the stevia and the trivia and the natural ones. I did buy a Splenda. I did not want to contribute to this, but I did get one of those just to show.
Didn't want to dump it out and
I
steal the
didn't.
box. That would be wrong.
But actually I did, because I went by and I actually did buy a granola bar on my way here because I don't have any of these around, and I was not going to buy a bunch of these of the artificial sweeteners. But this is kind of cool information. The colors of the packets indicate what they are. So the white packets are straight up sugar.
Yes.
The brown packets are the
It's a raw sugar.
raw sugar. Yes, thank you. The yellow are the sweet and lows. The greens are the trivia, so green think plant. So trivia and
So
stevia.
you know, if you go through the drive-through, some of us that get coffee, that you can literally just say, I need 2 blue packets or 2 pink packets or
Yes.
2 yellow packets. And it's kind of like when I'm coaching my family about, they didn't really understand that Advil was ibuprofen and that Tylenol was acetaminophen. Why do I need to know those extra things? Because you need to know what's in that. And these are brand names. Those are brand identities that we have of those colors. But it's really just, we've stripped down the chemical that's in there that gives us that sweet kick to a little colorful rectangle that we can go, I want the pink one, I want the blue one. And here's where I am ashamed. I figured out that if I swap and I do a pink and a blue or a blue and a yellow, that one artificial sweetener will overcome what's not great about the other artificial sweetener. And now I'm realizing that's just kicking my brain into that extra sweet mode now that you're saying that. I've actually been doubling up in some cases just to get that extra sweet kick. It tastes more like sugar to me.
Well, and some of these
Disappointment.
do have more of a fruity flavor. And so these, when we talk about artificial sweeteners, the ones I have on the table, except for this guy, that I actually did buy, because I thought we might use these at some point, maybe even in our office or something, if people want something for a sweetener, because we do have a coffee machine in here. But these are the natural ones from the leaves. So they are a lot sweeter than sugar, which is why we use them, but they are not calorie free. So if you're looking at calories, that's something to consider.
And the ones that come in the large bag that you can scoop out are filled with maltodextrin. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. If you think of how small these packets are for sweetness, and then you buy a big bulky bag that says you can measure for cup for cup like sugar, my thought was, what are they filling that with? And I realized it was maltodextrin. And when I looked that up, that is a carbohydrate. It may not be one that
it's a
spikes
family in the sugar.
But
it doesn't spike the
so I
sugar
thought,
as much.
how can you label it that it's not sugar? I don't know. It just confused me. I
Labeling,
realized what
marketing.
else I was putting in my body was probably not great.
And that's the biggest thing about these shows that I want to do, is just raise your awareness, because there's no way I'd have time to go through all these chemicals and everything. And, again, they're artificial and natural, but we're still talking about sugar. The misleading stuff about, that this is raw sugar, how is that any different than sugar,
Sugar.
So it's like you just have to slow down just a minute and do a little bit of research and look at this stuff, because and I did want to say, pink or blue, stay away from. If it looks like an infant, pink or blue, stay away from it. I'm just saying, it's just scary. And when you talked about the research, they did tons of research on rats, but not a lot on humans. So that should tell you something too. When you've got animal research, but not human research, and the human research that you have is done by the company who has the most to gain from it, that's a little bit of a concern. So I think, just be mindful of things. And, I'm not saying consume a lot of sugar, because we're trying to decrease the amount of sugar.
We're trying to break the habit of wanting the sugar in the first place. And that is dawning on me now, that just continuing to use artificial sweetener is continuing to create that craving where I want the sweet. And if I can retrain my taste buds, that would be the most beneficial.
And they've done studies to show that it actually triggers an insulin response.
Yes, so it's like a mock. They showed that with pictures, that people that looked through pictures of delicious food could trigger an insulin response.
Yes.
And then the taste of sweetness, even if it was just from one bite, could trigger that same response.
Yes, absolutely.
Someone says I can look at a picture and get fat. It's real.
It's real. Yeah, you do. You start triggering all those hormones.
Yes, that's why those delicious
fat
commercials
storage.
come on late at night with the giant glistening hamburger and fries. Oh, it never looks like that when you get it. Don't be fooled.
Don't be fooled.
Don't be fooled. This whole thing is don't be fooled.
Don't be
We should
fooled.
just call it. Stop fooling your taste buds.
Don't be foolish.
Don't be fooled.
So they're saying it's time for a little break.
Okay.
You're probably wondering why we have these delicious
Oh, yes.
drinks on the table. We're going to talk about those in just a minute when we come back.
I was so excited for Ryder to get home and try this flavor because I knew he would love it. The fruits and greens. It's strawberry and kiwi flavored. He throws it in a glass. He loves this little stir. It creates a tornado. It's all about the fun. Fruits, veggies, fun. Hello, let's do it. Fills it up to the tip top because that's satisfying, right? I knew as soon as he grabbed that straw he was going to love it, but I didn't think he'd have the whole glass down in under 3 minutes. His whole daily servings of fruits and veggies done.
Hi, welcome back. We are polishing up our show today, and it goes
Yes.
so fast. And I have all
Spooky and
this
sweet is almost
research.
over. And look at
Spooky
that
and sweet.
research.
And I wanted to share all of it, but there's not enough time.
There's not enough time.
We'll have to do a part 2.
We will.
And we just have to tell you, just do your research, because there's not enough time to talk about all this stuff.
No.
So
And we don't want to
just-
sit here on camera and just read you paragraphs of,
Oh, actually, I do. You probably heard of
actually,
sucralose by a
here's a
different name,
paragraph for
Splenda.
you.
Sucralose is okay. No, I won't do that.
you are a doctor, I know.
I am a nerd too. I love this
That's
stuff.
okay.
So I did want to mention the reason we have these delicious red drinks
Yes.
is
Can I try mine?
yes. Oh, I'm sorry. There are alternatives,
refreshing. I
and I'm
like
not
that.
trying to leave you with nothing. So actually, this is a little side gig that I have, and I like to make supplements because I think this is so important, and I make sure that I can provide my family with things that are good. And my son loves this. This is the fruits and greens, 20 plus servings of fruits and greens. And the first time he tried it, he's like, Mom, he's like, can I have this all the time? Because he had to give up sodas to lose the weight. He's just lost a ton of weight, and he had to give up sodas, and he had to, he had to really clean out the cupboard. So this has stevia in it, basically. So it's got the natural sweetener, and absolutely delicious. And
It is.
I love
It's
this
really
stuff.
good. This
Yeah.
would be so much better than kids running around with the Capri Sun envelope,
Yeah, oh,
the
yeah.
little sugar packet with the straw stuck in it.
It's got a
This is much better than that.
ton of vitamins in it. It's got the spirulina. It's got all the good anti-inflammatories in it, and it's got digestive enzymes.
Oh, that's a plus.
And it's got probiotics in it. So
And that
it's
tastes
super
good.
complete.
That doesn't have the...
Oh yeah.
Part of the thing that I feel like I love stevia, and I'm glad that it's as sweet as it is, but it doesn't have... Sugar gives body to things. That's just a chemical thing that it does. And you kind of have to get used to that. But this has, I think with the other ingredients in it, this has a nice body to it.
It does. I
If
love
that
it.
makes any
It's even
sense. You
better
know what I'm
with
talking
ice.
about? Sweet tea is really different than unsweetened tea for you Southern people out there that know what I mean. Sweet tea that you almost have to chew. It's so sweet.
So I feel good about this. If he wants something sweet, like in
Yes,
a drink,
no,
and I don't
this
think
is a
you should ever
great
drink your
alternative,
calories,
always.
But if you're gonna get your fruits and greens, this is wonderful. And then the monkey, we had this little gag that we're going to talk about.
I know, he's our
monk
new
fruit.
mascot. I love him so much.
But I love monk fruit, and that's what this all came about, because I wanted to really talk about monk fruit. It is a plant that they found that is like hundreds of times sweeter than sugar, and it does have some healing properties to it. And so our detox powder, and again, if you are going to consume any sort of chemicals in your food supply, you want to keep your liver healthy. So our detox powder is flavored with monk fruit, so they're delicious too. And I do my protein shake every morning.
And
It's
I
got
would say
protein
for
in it,
people
too.
that get frustrated and say, how do you make a change when this is in everything? You know, these things didn't exist that long ago. We made the change to get to these. And those of us that have been cleaning up our diet for a while, do you remember how hard it was to find gluten-free things? Do you remember how hard it used to be? We voted with our dollar and we insisted that we wanted that on the shelf and it was there. We can do the same thing with this. If we quit purchasing, they'll quit selling it.
Quit selling, they'll find something else.
Yeah.
Supply and demand. All right, we love you all very much, and we just want you to be informed, aware, healthy. If you have any disease processes, especially migraines, neuropathy, anything, just give it 2 weeks. 2 weeks off whatever it is that you're
Oh,
consuming
you can do
a
it
lot.
for 2 weeks. We can do lots of
And
stuff
just
for
see.
2 weeks.
And think
really.
if you could get off the pills for the ills that you take and
Right.
the polypharmacy, just think about how that could impact your life or prevent further, more insidious disease on down the road. So have a fabulous week and a healthy week, and we love you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.